Hello, greetings, good Thursday morning, everybody. It is your favorite pal in DFS, Choppadong, coming at you with another MLB rundown for Thursday, August 13th. My goodness, where does the time go? I'm going to throw another tip at the end of this video after I give you the rundown, but let's consider becoming a VIP at DFSArmy.com. Obviously, I'm a content editor, coach, and contributor here, and would love for you to come inside, get the content, tools, and coaching that will make you a better player. I firmly believe that, or I wouldn't say it all the time. I dig in and talk to people ad nauseum and help them with their contest selection or bankroll management strategy for the sports that I play, and I push them off to the sports that I don't play to the guys that are experts over there. We have every single coach of every single sport, every single slate. Everything is covered for you with tools and cheat sheets and everything. So stop on in, give us a shout. You can even try us for free for 30 days. I'll put that link in the comment section. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and notify yourself of future videos that drop to the phone or device that you're watching. So, anywho, follow me on Twitter too. What the hell? Let's dive into the research station. Today's a weird slate. Today starts the main slate at 4:05 p.m. Hello. Eastern, Central, whatever time zone you're in, I don't really know. But dude, seriously, 4:05 p.m. And on DraftKings, it includes the 9:40 game. On FanDuel, it's only 4 games. On DraftKings, it's 5. You're not going to get those later lineups by the time that slate locks. So you're going to have to make some guessing. And look at projected lineups, look at whatever you normally look at. And you just can't be pissed if you stack up those late teams like San Diego or something, and all of a sudden 3 guys are sitting. You're taking that chance. So the safer move for cash games is play with what you know. Perhaps one of the bigger moves for GPPs is go higher on some of those, get that lineup right, that game goes off, and you're in there where everybody else got afraid and bailed. One of my favorite adages, and it doesn't really apply here too much, but it does a little. One of my favorite DFS adages is when the world gets greedy, you need to get fearful. And when the world gets fearful, you need to get greedy. If they are afraid to play players from lineups they don't know yet, they're getting fearful, and you need to pounce on that. Take a chance, take a shot in tournaments, get greedy, get the leverage, and possibly push yourself over the top where everybody. You got to go where nobody else goes, man. That's how you got to hang your balls out there. That's how you win in this game. So when we start off at the starting pitching matchups tab, you can see who we have on the slate today. But of course, I'm going to slide over to Chop Shop, and I'm going to give you the K score really quickly. It won't take long today. There it is at the top, Darvish and Glasnow. Now, if you believe these guys are going to throw innings, get the 5 innings, get the win, go for it. Jump in on those guys. They've got pretty big K upside today. Now, the other thing that I would do is I would avoid some guys like this that are pitching to contact. Now, in my tournament lineups, I really don't care. I'm going to take whatever. I'm targeting bats. Bats, 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 bats. And I did that in reverse. But I'm targeting bats win GPPs. Pitching sort of helps, but not very often did you have to have a certain pitcher. You had to have the bats. You had to have the stack that went off. And how do you find that? W score is going to put the WOBA of the team against the WOBA allowed of the pitcher. And it's going to give you a quick idea of what pitchers are suspect today facing potentially big offenses. And that's these 3 or 4 bottom feeder teams. You look down here with short sample size on Eshelman, but you see 2.9, almost 3 home runs per 9. Good chance he's going to give a bomb up today. Trevor Williams, Jake Arrieta, these guys are walking and giving up hits, quite a bit of players. BB per 9 for Arrieta, for crying out loud. 3.19, dude. Get some control back, right? You're putting too many men on base. When you put too many men on base, you're only 1 pop away from giving up a crooked number. So what would I do? I would come over here and I would take a look at these teams and I'd be focused on these. Now notice on this size of a slate, I'm not saying we focus on 6 or 7 teams. I'm saying we're just going to focus on the bottom 2 or 3. Doesn't mean Milwaukee and Pittsburgh suck or in bad spots. It just means they're probably not in the spots that these 2 teams are down here. Cincinnati, Philadelphia might be where I start. Baltimore. Now, again, ownership's going to dictate what I do. But I'm going to first start looking at Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and Baltimore as the places that I want most of my focus to be. So I come over here into the batting matchups tab and I start doing the same thing. I'm going to kick off those games that are not on that slate. And of course, I'm looking at the FanDuel slate right now. DraftKings, you'd click that 940 button. You're going to find shallower positions here too, just for lack of choices. Okay, so where we've seen some numbers 700 and higher, you're not getting that today. And you're going to drop off pretty quickly down to these numbers that you don't want to see. So if I filtered off by 580, we'll see what that does. So I say 580, but I do like 575. And if that cuts too much of it off in these other positions, I may have to include 550, 520, whatever it is to get me a decent number of players. On a slate this size, I want like 20 players to boost in the optimizer because I just need those guys to separate from the pack because they're the better plays on the slate. So when I come through here and take a look, remember, I'm looking for the stacks that the hitting is indicating. So there's Philadelphia again. There's some Cincinnati in here. We said Baltimore might be a focal point, but so far Philly and Cincinnati are checking out. A couple of Cubbies in there, so you might have a couple of Cubs like a Baez and a Chris Bryant, right? These are the types of scenarios that we're looking for to separate us off the pack. Josh Bell, great one-off today. We saw Pittsburgh was in a fair to partly cloudy type of spot, and Josh Bell is the thump in that lineup that if that stack goes off, he's generally going to be a part of it. So I'm going to go position by position, start with the catcher, and I've only got a couple of options, Realmuto and Cisco, if Cisco starts. Come in here to first base, Josh Bell and Rhys Hoskins, right? It doesn't mean the other guys are crap, okay? It just means these are the guys I'm boosting in the optimizer. If the optimizer still chooses somebody else, like a Mitch Moreland or something, over these guys, I'll let it. I'm going to trust my projections too, but I'm trying to raise the floor of my projections. What does randomization do for me in baseball? Randomization starts, takes that projection of like a 10, and if I set it at, say, 50%, then that projection is going to be anywhere between a 5 and a 15, 50% up or down. That's a big number. It's a big variable. But baseball is volatile. I would encourage you to use as much randomness as you can find. However, if I boost his projection from up 15% or manually do it to 20%, let's say we boost his projection from 10 to 11.5. We boost it 15%. 11.5. Now 50% of that is what? 5.5? And 50% on the high side is what? 16.5? So instead of going from 5 to 15, now I slid that a little bit to the right, and now I'm going from 6.5 to 16.5. You see where I'm going with that? By boosting those projections, I'm lifting everything up off the bottom of the randomization. It's still going to give me a high percentage of the guys that I boost. It may not be enough. It may not get me all the way out of the bottom of the barrel or whatever on some of the minus 50% projections, but it's going to lift their overall projections higher. Their range of projections is going to be even higher. Therefore, I'm still going to get more of that guy than anybody else, but it's still going to mix and match him, if that makes sense. That's a tool our optimizer has for you that allows you to build more widespread lineups. Now, you can tighten your core all the way down, and we talk about that too, or widen it all the way out. And either way, in a game like baseball, you hit that right stack, and you got the right projections in the one-offs and whatever in there with it. Sometimes the randomization will find that. You may take a guy like a Nelson Cruz last night and boost him 20, 25% so that he pulls in nearly everywhere and get 40% of him like we had. And, if he has a big night, which he was smashing lefties, if he has a big night, then you're off to the races. So anyway, Kingery at second base, Bryant, Suarez at third, Baez at short. Your outfield's always your deepest spot. Yelich, Bruce, McCutchen, Aquino, Winker, Harper, Santander. Of course, make sure they're starting. Right? Make sure these guys are starting. But those would be the players that I would boost their projections. I would get the majority of this player pool of, what I say, about 20 names or so, pulling into my lineups. I would use the stacks of Philly and Cincinnati and maybe some Baltimore. And then I would go to our leverage stacks tool. That's what I want to show you. Last night's version of the leverage stack tool at dfsarmy.com. I want to discuss 3 quick teams, then we'll get out of here. 1, Philadelphia, massive chalk, very, very high ownership. What do? You lower your exposure to the chalky teams when they're big like that. I would put parameters in place. If I see a number over 100 or over 120, I would lower my exposure or consider completely fading them. If I see a number like 80 something, I would probably lower it again. If I see a number of 60, I would probably leave it alone. If I start seeing numbers down here in the 40s, I'd probably start boosting my projections to gain leverage on these guys, provided they're already in good leverage spots. I'm going to let this tool do the indicating for me that Philly is going to give me no leverage. If I have all Philly stacks tonight and they go off, great. I'm still fighting with the majority of the world for first place. I don't want to do that. I would rather take the chance. I don't have to be right all of the time. I just have to be really, really right some of the time. And that some of the time was last night with Minnesota. Minnesota was our second projected leverage stack. Doesn't mean they were our second projected stack. It means we felt you were going to get more leverage out of Minnesota than anybody other than maybe Washington. Why? High points projected, low ownership of the starting lineups, high DFSA grades, right? That's going to push you to the top of the leverage rank because this ownership's going to drag you down. And that's why your Tampa Bays and your Houstons were down here. They were a little bit chalky last night. Yankees are always going to carry some ownership, but less ownership on Minnesota, who scored 12 runs. We've pegged Philadelphia, we've pegged Detroit, we've pegged Pittsburgh, we've pegged Cincinnati, we've pegged Miami. We've hit all of these in the last week or so since the release of this tool. Something in the top few is going to go off every day because baseball is volatile. Yes, these teams down here are going to perform better quite often. But in baseball, they fail more often than any other sport. So when you see these teams you have low leverage on and they have high ownership with them, that's why you have the low leverage. You decrease your ownership to them. Don't take 40% Philadelphia stacks last night. They only scored 4 runs, leapfrog the field by taking chances on some of these others. Now, your Baltimores, your San Franciscos, they need to still be in pretty good spots. Like if you start seeing bad numbers with them, maybe they've got leverage, but maybe they don't really have much of a chance of going off. That's where you have to decipher the numbers in this tool. But when you see green largely at the top, it's a good spot to take ownership. So instead of 10% Minnesota stacks, boost them to 25%. Washington, instead of 10% or 20%, boost them to 30 or 40%. But make room for them by taking your San Diego's, Houston's, Tampa Bay's, and Philadelphia's and dropping them from, say, 20% down to 10 or 5, or fade them completely. That's how you use this tool. That's how you use these tools that we're constantly coming out with at DFS Army to become a better player. We're going to generate the chalkboard, which I'll show you another time. We're going to generate the chalkboard for all of the other sports that we're doing, and that's going to allow you to play cash games and get on the chalk, or play GPPs and get off the chalk accurately, dependably, and build a bankroll. We give you that advantage. There's no reason you shouldn't be here, but there's no wonder we're on top of all the damn leaderboards. We give you the edge, but not only do we give you the edge, we teach you how. We teach you why. That's what we do here. You need to be a member of DFSArmy.com. It's that simple. Your chances are not as good anywhere else in the industry. All the other sites are great. They all do the same content. They all do versions of it. They don't explain it. They don't do the coaching part of it. You can't ask those stud brand names at those websites questions. They don't answer you. We do. Come on in here, try us for free for 30 days, DFSArmy.com. I'm Chapadong. I'm out of here. I'm going to go build some lineups because we got an early lock today. Hopefully I see you guys at the top of the leaderboards with me. Take care.